All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast. And wow, look at all these people jumping on already. So, guys, if you are watching live, please comment, let us know that you're here. But I want to introduce our special guest for the day. This is Chasity Scarberry. She is a seasoned professional with over 12 years of experience in the martial arts industry. This year in 2023, she changed gears and started working with Skills Worldwide under the guidance of the amazing Melody Johnson and new member Ninja with William Pierce. She has had the privilege of contributing her expertise in customer service, customs, social media with some team and event relations. Building relationships is her thing. Through these roles, she has fostered strong connection with amazing school owners and staff, sport martial arts athletes, and coaches, and has had the opportunity to meet some of the industry's biggest stars. When she is not immersed in the martial arts world, you can find her practicing yoga, tending to her garden, and cherishing the growth and success of others. Chasity will always continue to explore the martial arts world, find serenity in yoga, and nurture the beauty of nature. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Awesome.
And I think I stole that little introduction of welcome to the show, but that's okay. I don't know if there's a trademark on that, but it is great to have you here today. And guys, I apologize if we get a couple little glitches here and there. You know how the internet is. It's just the way it is. Sometimes we get that glitch. So Chas, listen, you've got a ton of people watching you already. I know a lot of people are super excited to hear about, your story before, after, and during your experience in the martial arts industry, still in the industry. But why don't you go ahead and kind of get us started with getting to know the person from growing up, from the beginning, and then let's go from there.
From the beginning. Okay.
From the beginning of time. No, I'm kidding.
I was born. No. Okay. Well, I had a pretty simple upbringing. I was born here in Oklahoma. My parents are both very chill people. Born to a family of hippies. I am an only child. So I had all of the attention, of course. Very, very loving family atmosphere. We did a lot of fun things. We always went camping, family trips every year. My parents, instilled in me, the love of nature, reading, science, all of that stuff is super important. Spirit, mind, and body. You have to connect everything. So I got that definitely from my parents. And they always told me, just be yourself and everything else works out. Mm-hmm. So it was a great upbringing.
Well, and interesting that you bring that up about mind, body, spirit. Were you a martial artist growing up? Because that goes right in line with what we talk about and what we do in the martial arts. So
I wasn't growing up, but I always wanted to take classes. But what my dad and I would do when movies would come on TV, he was a huge Bruce Lee fan. So we watched every single movie. I don't even know how many times. Like I could probably recite them word for word at this point. We were always into the cheesy, that was one of our bonding things. Like we would watch the cheesy, like old school, the Shaolin movies and all of that. So that's where I got my martial arts value. So I've always been a huge fan of martial arts. So it's kind of crazy how I had trickled in and actually, started working in the industry.
Well, you wouldn't have to really remember all of the lines. You could just lip sync any of those old movies, and nobody would know what you were saying or what they were saying. No, that's pretty cool though, because again, the mind, body, spirit kind of dips into your beginning in life and values that your parents instilled in you, and then you get into the martial arts industry. So, tell us more about growing up in Oklahoma. I've only visited a couple times. Seems like you use the words pretty chill, right? Being from California, totally different pace of life from what I remember at my time there. Tell me what it was like growing up in Oklahoma.
Well, again, Oklahoma's pretty chill. It's not all just cowboys and, Indians and rough lands the way people think it is. We have some beautiful camping spaces here in Oklahoma. We have small mountain ranges. We've always lived a little bit outside of the city. So, right now I'm 20 minutes from downtown. I live in the family house that I grew up in at this point. So I've always had a connection to both. But Camping's cool. We have a very good arts district here now. Myriad Gardens is really cool. They have like a huge crystal bridge where they have just beautiful, beautiful gardens there, and we would go down there all the time. There's several lakes here. Most of them are man-made, of course, because we're pretty landlocked here in Oklahoma. But gardening is a big thing here. Farmers markets are huge because we do have huge farmers here.
Mm-hmm.
Drive 20 minutes that way, got farms, drive 20 minutes that way, it's the city. So it's really cool. You get a lot of culture here, a lot of different people, get to meet, I've met a Buddhist monk at the flea market the other day, and it's really cool, actually. I think everybody should take a trip to Oklahoma.
You got it all right. Well,
Yeah.
so you bring up something, I grew up, my mom was like the gardening queen. Like she could literally take plants that were like you would think that they were dead, and she could bring them back to life, and she could take a clipping from just about anything, grow anything. And so like I just grew up around trees and plants and flowers and bushes, and we had a garden that produced fruit and vegetables and stuff like that. We actually kind of lived off of it at one point a little. So that was for me. I remember and now we just moved into a new home, and one of the first things that we did is we planted. My kids wanted trees; they wanted fruit trees, and we planted a lemon tree, and we planted a Moorpark. That's where I'm from, Moorpark apricot tree. And I can't tell you, it every morning, like one of the highlights of my day is waking up and watering that damn tree, and just looking, watching the little lemon that's growing just a little bit more. So, and for my mom, it was always very relaxing. That was kind of her daily therapy, right? And so she would just go out there, be in the garden, and that was just kind of her zen time. And I can see why when you have time, unfortunately for me, I get up, I look at those trees, and then it's like, okay, got to go to the gym, got to go do the podcast, got to go teach classes, got to do this. But if that's your thing, it's super cool. So just tell me a little bit more about your experience with it and what it was for you.
Well, of course, growing up with mom and dad, we always had the garden. So that was actually one of my majors in college was botany. I was always super, super excited about learning about trees, plants, the medicinal properties. That's also something I'm looking at doing, a little bit later in life is, getting a certification in some natural healing. But, that is for a lot of people, it helps your mental stress. It's just a time to decompress, be out there, get in the garden, get your hands dirty, connect to the earth. It's a beautiful thing if you have the time to do it. Definitely. I'm probably out in the garden or working somewhere in the yard at least an hour a day.
Yeah, growing up, my kids growing up, we live in the city. There's not a lot of they're not out hiking, and they're not out playing in the forest or anything like that. But for me growing up, we would just go out, and we had the backyard was just like this wide open. We had everything all around us, and I can just kind of relate to that of being outdoors and being outside, and being one with nature, right? I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm 100% Zen like that, but I just felt it just felt different. I don't know. It was just kind of cool back then. Hey, we got a Facebook user, and I keep throwing your comments up there saying hello. I don't know who it is because on my side it says Facebook user. So drop your name, and we'll give you a little shout out. And again, there's several other people out there watching. Would love to know who else is watching. By the way, this is an interactive show. So if you have questions, comments, or anything else, please drop those in the comments and we'll bring those up. So let's talk a little bit more. You mentioned that, you grew up with mom and dad. Mom and dad were hippies. What was that like?
Very cool. Very chill. We would dance around the house, always family dinners. They would put the vinyls on, and music was a huge key of life. Hey Jen, we always had candles. Mom taught me how to make candles and essential oils, stuff like that. I cannot complain one bit about my childhood. Like,
Hmm.
and they made sure I was an awesome reader. Mom and dad would read to me every night. I was reading Lord of the Rings by the time I was 5 by myself.
Whoa.
That was my first adult book, was
Hmm.
The Hobbit. So, just very chill. Like they had their group of friends that would come over and they would just sit. Some of them would have drum circles sometimes out in the backyard. Just I can't complain. I think that's why it made me such a chill person. It just, you get those early fundamentals as a child and it just builds onto your character.
Well, you have this super outgoing personality, right? So it seems like your upbringing was that of being surrounded by lots of people and social and having a good time, and so that just comes out on screen as well with the smile, the energy, the excitement. So that's awesome. I love to hear that. Now let's talk a little bit more. I mean, wow, you were reading The Hobbit at 5 years old, so I can only assume what was your school life like? What were things that you liked about school? What were things you didn't like about school?
Okay, so I'm a huge band nerd. I know how to play 8 instruments. So, of course, band was my absolute favorite. I did go to public school. We didn't have like cello or piano lessons or anything like that, which I'm still looking at learning cello and piano.
Mhm.
But, it was really cool. We did competitions. I did marching band. I did jazz band. I did every band activity there possibly could be. But then I was also super interested in anything that had to do with science. I was AP science, I went into all the chem classes. I got college credits for my classes. Really into that. And I had an amazing history teacher. I never thought like history would be my thing just because, oh, history is boring,
Mhm.
it's not. And when you get an instructor that brings like lights the inner light of you, I
Mhm.
had this instructor, well, teacher in high school. His name was Mr. Calloway. I don't know if he's still around, but I still remember his name. Dating
Yeah.
myself, it's been some years, but you get those teachers that just stick with you.
Yeah.
He was one of them. What I hated about school, math. Math is my downfall. I am not a math girl.
All right. Well, I love that you brought up the fact that you had a teacher that brought out, took a subject that you thought maybe just wasn't your thing, or everybody says history. I remember being in school. I thought history then was boring, but I think you're right. I think it's like the teacher really makes the subject and makes it interesting when they could do that. But the even better part was to pull the best out of you and to make you excited about learning. I've talked many times on my podcast about a teacher that I had in high school that happened to be my woodshop and construction teacher.
Cool.
And funny enough, the irony is that my father was in construction, and I never wanted anything to do with construction. I don't know why, like, because I'm not really afraid of hard work. I don't know. I think part of it, honestly, the construction is that my father built custom homes, right? So over the
Mhm.
years, things were really good, or things were not really good, and I think that subconsciously tied in construction with those ups and downs. I was like, I can't do that, but I digress. Back to construction teacher in high school. Uh, he was just an amazing man, and what was really cool about him was he was like the man's man. He was the
Yeah.
dude on campus. He was the teacher that everybody really liked, whether they had him or not. And he was the construction teacher. So,
Yeah.
he's kind of like the rough, tough guy, really. But he was also the special ed teacher.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I was able to TA for several of his classes and work with kids with special needs, which, looking back now, since I've gone into martial arts and had the opportunity to work with special ed kids now, it just kind of all ties together. But this teacher made it didn't matter if you were a jock. It didn't matter if you were, the nerd. It didn't matter if you were you whatever you did, right? Whatever you
Mhm.
did, he could kind of lump everybody in, tie everybody together, and bring everybody together, but made it fun to learn. So
Exactly.
I love that you had a teacher that kind of opened up that part of you that went, okay, history could be cool. right?
Yeah, I
And
mean, he would dress up, he would bring in movies for us to watch. He would take us out of the class onto the football field and we would do like mock Civil War stuff, like
awesome.
insanely genius way of teaching. Everybody wanted to be in his class. I was one of
Yeah.
the lucky ones that got to be in there.
Yeah. Well, another teacher that comes to mind, which he wasn't my teacher, he was my kid's teacher, and he just retired. Dan Birchfield. So, Mr. Birchfield, if you're
Shout
watching, if you
out.
watch this later, little shout out for him. And by the way, go back and check out Dan Birchfield, his interview. He got a great story, but talk about a teacher that would dress up, sing, entrance music. He would do the whole bit just to bring the kids in
Yep.
and help them enjoy, because let's face it, some kids just don't want to be there, like, and it's just, it's such a downer. But for a teacher to do that, it's like if you got one teacher that you're looking forward to go see in high school and that kind of gets you through,
Yep.
man, more power to them. That's super awesome. So anyway, good job, Birch. Let's talk more about band. So you did all kinds of different band throughout middle school, high school.
Yeah, started, first year of school, went all the way through high school, all the way. And I
All
learned,
right.
I started with clarinet. That was my main focus for most of junior high. I started a little bit of drumline in junior high, but then like high school hit and I was like, I need to learn all of the things.
That's awesome. Well, I have to ask, any band camp stories? Going back to American Pie.
One time at band camp.
Right?
No, I mean, there's a lot of crazy stories. I will, keep those a little hush
Plead the
hush.
fifth on some of those.
But the just making us closer as a group, like we would split off, of course, like the woodwinds would go one way, the brass would go another, but just camps would always bring everybody together. And we would work on one big thing and then we would split off on our groups. I just think it made us a tighter unit. We went, several different states competing and it was just a blast. I recommend everybody put their kid in band, but martial arts as well.
Well, and here's the interesting thing, right? Or what I think is so special is that like you found your place in band. Some students will find their place in sports. Some people will find themselves in martial arts. Some people will find themselves in another group. But isn't that what everybody kind of wants, is to feel like they belong and feel like they're part of a group, right? And sometimes, you have kids and adults that feel out of place, have a hard time finding themselves. So, I think whatever it is, whether it's band or it's martial arts or it's playing chess or Dungeons and Dragons, right? I mean, when you feel like you belong and you got a group of people that you have like-minded and you make each other feel better, I think that's where we need to focus our efforts. Now,
for sure, find your tribe.
Find your tribe, right? What now? Okay, so talk about high school. What were your plans in high school? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I actually wanted to be my first thing. I've switched so many times because I have a squirrel brain. As a child and growing up and through high school, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I just have a love for the animals of the deep sea, keeping the sea clean as well. That's always been a passion. I still, am very proactive in those groups today. But being landlocked where we are, I didn't want to move away from home to go to a good marine biology school. So here we are.
When did that first become an interest? Like, when did you kind of like tell yourself that would be a cool thing to do?
Probably 5th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to SeaWorld?
Yes, several times, of course. I think it hit when we went on a school trip to the zoo and they had an interactive exhibit where you could actually touch the starfish. And Oklahoma, the zoo here actually has a really nice aquarium area. So that just, opened my eyes and I was like, hey, I want to do that.
Yeah. Super cool.
What did you want to be?
What did I, you know what? When, as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to open a martial arts school.
Really?
I think maybe when I was really little, I probably wanted to be an athlete, or I probably wanted to be a policeman or something like that. But when I really thought about it, and I was, old enough to start kind of comprehending, I really always wanted to be, because I started martial arts when I was 10 years old. And I watched the people that taught me, and I literally thought that they were the strongest people in the world. Like they were superheroes to me.
They are
And
superheroes.
and I just thought, like, man, that would be so cool to get to do martial arts every day. And other than teaching martial arts and teaching school owners how to, run a successful school, and that kind of thing, I've never had another career, never had another major job. I did pizza delivery when I was a teenager, and that kind of stuff. I did work construction in the summers when I was younger, but yeah, martial arts was really it for me.
Nice.
So
I love it.
I'm living the dream that I always had, and it gets better. It just keeps getting better. I am curious as to our audience on if you have any questions, because I have another great question for Chas right now. But if you guys have questions and there's something you want to know about her, please comment and let us know. Or if there's a story or something you want to share, please do. But I want to go back a little bit. What are some things that you struggled with as a child or struggled with as a teen, that you were able to overcome? Or maybe still working to overcome it?
Those are good ones. Those are good ones. Well, coming as an only child, a lot of the times I would find myself younger. I would found myself being the only one by myself on the playground, because only kids are super independent, and you guys would never guess it, but I was a very quiet child. Not that apparently that came out somewhere. I was super quiet. I didn't really speak up, didn't really have a voice as a kid. Very independent, probably also fitting in during the junior high days. We did have some quite bad hazing here. It was a weird time in the world. So I'm really finding myself and who I wanted to be. That was the hard part, and I think I still struggle with finding myself and who I want to be. I'm getting there, but it's always a daily growth.
Well, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your challenges and some obstacles. But I want to dive in a little bit deeper to that, right? So those were the challenges. How did it affect you?
Oh, okay. Well, I had one teacher that she was like, if you don't use your voice now and learn how to speak up. I think we were trying to, read something aloud in class, and she was like, you're muttering. Nobody can understand you. She was kind of harsh about it, but then she was like, you got to use your voice. Nobody's ever going to hear you if you don't use your voice. From that day, this is my speaking voice. Some people say I speak too loud. I've been called out for being loud many a times, but hey, I have a voice now.
There you go.
So obviously I'm not quiet anymore. The independence I still have. I still struggle with asking people for help. I'm getting better at, running ideas by people and, having conversations of what's in here. But usually, I was just the stay focused, motivated. I don't need to talk to anybody. I don't need anything from anyone. No, I've definitely opened up out of that. As far as kind of the hazing, we did have a bullying issue here, and it was before bullying was bullying. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
It was the 80s. We were all just like little crazy kids trying to find our ways in life. I got in a couple fights at school. I didn't start them. I had bigger friends that helped me finish them.
There you go.
So yeah, that was major. It was a rough time in life. Junior high is rough for all kids, I think.
Yeah. I think in everybody in their own way, right? Like even the kids that you think like got everything going for them,
Oh, for sure.
they're definitely going to have their struggles. Well, I wouldn't know what it was like to be an only child, because I had two younger brothers, but I was the oldest one, and there's some things that come with being the oldest one, and like you said, the kind of the independence thing, like kind of checking it, because I was always kind of used to being the boss,
Yeah.
and I remember my brothers when they were little, you're not the boss of me, and I was kind of bossy because I was the oldest, kind of in. Mom would say, you're in charge, and I would take that quite literally. And so that that was a bit of a challenge, and even as an adult like you, it's very difficult to ask people for help because you're like, I got it, I
Yeah.
got it, I got it. But I'm sure that you face this every now and again, where you want to ask for help, but you don't want it to make you look
Week.
weak in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because then it kind of drops what you think other people might think of you. And as far as like sometimes I just assume everybody understands what I'm thinking. My wife will constantly tell me, she's like, can you put some extra words or finish that sentence, because
Can't
you
read your
assume
mind.
you assume that I read your mind. And I'm like, well, yeah, don't you get it? And it's like, no, I don't. So I can kind of relate on a couple of those things there. But the one that sticks out to me is not using your voice, right? Because that kind of ties in some of this too, is not speaking up for yourself, not setting boundaries, not telling people how you feel, not, what I mean? All of these things. Is this striking a chord with you?
Oh yeah, as an only child, I am super introverted. Like you wouldn't guess it because when I'm around people and peopling, I am extroverted to some people telling me to chill out. But I'm very introverted as a person. So finding my voice and, telling people how I felt about things, like besides telling my parents, like I wasn't used to that, opening up to a group of people. Are we supposed to do this?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
here you
still
are.
struggle with it.
Here you are on a podcast telling everybody all the things.
All the things.
So how about that?
I love
so
it.
so now what actually happened from high school? You wanted to become a marine biologist, but what actually happened? What was next?
What actually happened is, I thought I was doing the grown-up thing by getting my own apartment, working 2 jobs to afford that apartment. I had a son when I was 22 that changed my path. I went back to college, and at that point, I went for my psychology degree. And I'm also a licensed massage therapist, so I kind of doubled up things in college. And after that, after high school, a lot of people think it's, you got to do this, and this. I tried to, do that path of, getting out on your own and showing them how adult you could be when, nobody in their 20s is fully an adult. Sorry, guys, if you're watching, I love you, but there's still some growth there.
For sure. Well,
if I would have stayed home for a while, things would have been different.
Yeah, having an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old myself, I understand that that they want the independence, they want the adult decisions, but sometimes the adult responsibility is hard to really grasp. And I mean, I couldn't wait to move out when I was 17 years old, and just by happenstance, my parents decided that they were going to move right after I graduated high school. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I am moving out now. But like I tell my kids, I'm like, stay home. So where are you going to go? What are you going to do right now? Right? There's no rush. But even more importantly, like you kind of nailed it when you said doing the thing that you thought was the adult thing, doing the thing that like you thought you were supposed to do. And there's really, it's just like there's no playbook to being a parent. There's really no playbook to being it. There's not, 18 is not it, right? It doesn't have to be it. I encourage my kids, go to college, get an education, create as many opportunities for yourself early on, because if you're trying to create those opportunities later, it's still possible, but you have all the resources in the world right now by living at home, being able to save up, being able to do all the things you want to do, and then go, right? It's just that's just been my, the opposite of my experience, but what I've, said to my kids. But what do you think everybody really expected of you when you turned 18, when you graduated high school, when you're heading off to college? What did you think that everybody expected of you?
I mean, my parents were always chill. They told me to come home at any time. I think they expected failure. Like honestly,
Mm,
honestly,
okay.
I think they thought I'd be home within, 6 months.
Uh-huh.
I lasted a lot longer than that. Um, I don't know. Expectations. That's
Yeah.
one thing I never had a lot of. Like parents never put like hard rules and you know you should do this with your life or you should not a lot of guidance there. They let
Mm-hmm.
me choose my own path. So not a lot of people, my parents really didn't expect me to really do much.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted me to, they were always just like, be happy with what yourself and what you're doing. If
Mm-hmm.
you're not happy, remove yourself from the situation. So
Right. Right.
other than that, my friends, we were all kind of on the same path together because at the time society was like, okay, you move out at 18, you go to college, you get your degree, you go work in that field, and that's your life. That's your life.
Right.
We were all kind of on the same path together, and we all basically did the same thing, had kids around the same age. We all went back to school and, got our degrees and some of them are still working in the field. I
Mm-hmm.
don't work in psychology, obviously, but that's what I have my degree in.
Right. Yeah, I have to say that I was pretty happy with the fact that my parents always told me, do what you love to do. Find something you love to do. And
Yeah.
I always remember that. And I'm so grateful that I found that I loved martial arts. And when I started teaching martial arts, I loved it even more. When I opened my school, I just continue, I continue to love it more and more and more with every step of the way. So again, going back to the supportive parents and allowing me, because I didn't have a degree. I didn't
Right.
graduate college. I didn't have any business experience at all. All I had was some skill,
Yeah.
in teaching and in martial arts and a passion, and that's literally what carried me through. But knowing that my parents were always supportive of, do what you love, do what you love, and chase your dreams and
Yep.
work hard. Work hard, chase your dreams, be passionate. That's kind of where it all came from. Hey, I want to throw this up here because Jen's taking off and getting back to the school, but she just wanted to say that Chasity has always been so welcoming whenever I've interacted with her, and is a real light in the martial arts and regular world. So thank you.
Aw, thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for watching. And again, for anybody watching, we'd love to hear your comments as well. Please feel free to share the podcast as well so other people can see it. Share it in all the different groups, and let's see what happens. But so life started happening, right?
Yeah.
And you started getting into a career. Let's talk about, when did you start working for the largest martial arts wholesaler in the world?
Let's see. It was 2010. I started working with Century Martial Arts.
And how did that happen?
I actually had a friend. I was managing a restaurant at the time, and my friend was like, "Hey, I just started at this place. Seems really cool, up your alley. I know you like martial arts." I was actually training at the time
Hmm.
that I started martial arts. Me and a friend were, doing classes, and I was like, "Hey, that sounds cool." I wasn't exactly happy where I was at, so gave it a go. Went in for an interview, and started the week after.
Nice. Nice. And you were with the company for 13 years. So just kind of talk about your experience of working with the school owners. I mean, this is how we've come into contact. I know you had a really big influence on the social media and just the it seemed like the community relations within the organization with the clients. So you've met, school owners all over the world. You've worked with all different customers from different walks of life, so to speak. Just kind of tell us more about that experience.
Yeah, I started out on the sales team. Super fun times there. Got to meet an amazing amount of people. You get your, I have 10 student school owners to, I have my 5 location, thousands of student school owners. You get every call is something different.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always enjoyed. Like you're never going to get the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was I always like to have conversations and learn more about them. I love building relationships with people. That's probably why, soon after I started, I moved over to customs, worked over there. Then I moved over to the VIP team just because I love learning about people and building relationships. And I guess, my thing was, and also one of Century's mottos is we wanted people to know that they weren't just a number. They
Right.
were, we actually cared. Century is a family, and that was my family for 13 years. It was a great time. Like, I used to be able to go back and watch T-shirts getting printed, or walk over here and see a Wave Master getting done. Like, it's so big but little at the same time because it's family and you get to see all this stuff happening on site and you just learn so much about everybody. And then I moved over to doing social when Leon was there. He was a great guy. Shout out to Leon. He helped me out a lot at Century as well.
Again, this might be Jen, but said that you were very helpful. I'm not sure if that is in fact Jen, but guys, as you put comments, just in case you're watching from a group or from somewhere else, just drop your name so we know who's there. We'll give you a little shout out. But yeah, you got to get to know the school owners, and I think that that's so important in any company, right? The more you get to know people, their wants, their needs, and how. This is Daryl Balashiski. Hello, sir. Good to see you. Yeah, the more you get to know them, because I mean, in our martial arts schools, that is crucial, right? I personally, tell me if I'm wrong, somebody else, but I don't think that you can run a really effective martial arts school without really caring about your people and getting to know your people and knowing the families. And I'm not talking about like going out with your students and being friends and all that stuff, I'm just talking about within getting to know people and building those relationships and within the business community, networking with businesses in your community, learning about your local community, learning about the schools in your area. What are their needs? How can we partner? How can we help each other? Because in the end, that's what Century is to every martial arts school that they work with, is they're a partner. They provide a service, but they are partnering with us in our success. And hey, at the same time, I mean, all these school owners are what helps make Century a success. So it's a win-win all the way around. So you started getting on the socials. You were pretty creative there from what I see from my end and what I noticed. What were some of the challenges of not only, not just necessarily working there, but like what were your challenges in what you did?
Really, Century was an open door. Like, I could go grab things out of our showroom, do product spotlights. I think my main thing is trusting in myself. I believe, like, sometimes I'm very derpy and I stumble across my words, and going live in front of thousands of school owners trying to talk about a product, I'm like, do I sound stupid? Like, but then, like, I came to realize I already had all these great relationships with the customers and, weekly phone calls with people to asking them about how their belt testings went. Like, they don't necessarily care, like, if I'm well versed and sound like a college scholar. They just wanted the real me. And it took me, a little while to transition into that and just be like, oh, we got to go with the punches. That's fine. I think I actually broke my phone live on one of our broadcasts one time when I was doing something for, our holiday specials that were going on. Like, the gimbal stopped working and it just fell and broke. And I was just roll with the punches. Let's go.
Right.
But that was probably the hardest thing, is just learning how to get in front of an audience.
Any major success stories that you have at that time with any personal clients or people that you worked with closely in any way that you can describe?
Oh man, there's so many stories. Just we have several people that I worked with that had students pass, and we would be able to, I would run a belt back to our embroidery artists and be like, hey, we need to get this done, because they wanted to, send the belt away with the student at their memorial service. So those ones really touched my heart. Michael Bank, we did a uniform for his wife that was, experiencing cancer, and she, lost her battle, but Polka Dot Queen will still live forever in my heart, because that, also hits close to home for me. And just working with school owners, like just learning stories and, helping them along the way. Like there's plenty of times where we had to rush something through, something didn't get communicated right, or something didn't happen, but we made it happen. So, I was sometimes called the Flash because I could get things done fast, or, just the fixer.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Well, and when one door closes, another door opens. And so that relationship came to an end not too long ago, but now you're working with Melody Johnson with Skills Worldwide. How did that happen, and what's the experience so far?
Well, basically, after, leaving Century, Melody reached out almost immediately, and she was like, "Hey, girl, we need to talk. I need you on my team." She said she had been reading a book, Who Not How, and she was actually telling herself that she needed a chastity. She needed someone that did what I did on Social for Century. And it just happens, timing was perfect. I don't know if something, magical happened in the universe, but here we are, and I'm working with the amazing Melody.
What are some of your favorite things about working with Skills and working with Melody?
Oh, well, I've always looked up to Melody for years and years and years. I've been to several super shows. I see that every time she's at the super show, her seminars are jam-packed. You can barely fit people in the door. It's like you got to smash people in there. Just her vibe is amazing. She has such a positive outlook on things, getting to change the world with kids, learning child development, the science and the psychology behind it. Just amazing. And she is a master of her craft.
Yeah, awesome. And guys, if you're watching this, I had the privilege of interviewing Melody Johnson as well. So if you want to go back to Master Motivation Podcast on YouTube, you can go and check out her interview. So definitely check that out. A lot of good information there, but a great person, someone who truly cares. Talk about someone that has passion and cares what they do. I mean, it's like, man, what could be better than to love what you do and to be able to make a difference, not just in the lives of one child at a time, but literally by helping one school at a time, helping hundreds, if not thousands of children and students across the world. So awesome. Kudos to her for doing an amazing job. And she's always kind of out there updating and, implementing new systems and bringing in people like yourselves to kind of take it to the next level. So I think that's super awesome. Since we're talking about, mentors or people that you admire or look up to, who are some of the other people, whether they're in the industry or not, that maybe deserves just a little shout out or a little love for what they do?
Well, of course, Melody, she's amazing. Chris Rodriguez, I love her vibe. I've also been able to work in my time at Century. I got to work with a lot of competitive athletes and teams and coaches. So Connell Lovelace, Haley Glass, Alex Mancius, their energy is just off the charts, and I love it. Kaylin Kowalski, got a lot of amazing people. Connell Lovelace, the manager of Team Revolution, is just such a good spirit. He still calls to check on me all the time. It's fabulous. It's fabulous. Yeah. Lainey, shout out to you, because her energy is off the charts. I'm a big energy person, if you haven't been able to tell.
Yeah.
I'm all about vibes and energy, and all of them just bring it.
Well, I love that you're bringing up like half my guest list, Cannell, Team Revolution coach and co-owner with a good friend of mine, Kevin Kowalczyk.
I didn't mention Kevin. Love him too.
Come on, you got to love him. Kevin's my boy. But yeah, definitely all these people. Just had Haley Glass, had Chris Rodriguez. So if you recognize any of the names that Chastity's talking about, go and check out their interview so you can learn more about them. And I think you'll be even more inspired to hear their story, because listen, every one of those people has a great story to tell and had their own struggles and their own challenges. A lot of us watch these podcasts or watch these interviews for like, a little bit of inspiration or motivation, but just remember that if you're watching, I can guarantee that there's someone out there that you have motivated or that you have inspired. And I would love to tell your story as well. So I'm looking forward to having many more guests coming up in the future. But let's throw this up here. This is my wife watching. She says, what a blessing to work with so many rock stars
I know,
at
and
once.
that's just what came off the top of my head. There's so many to list. I can't even, so many.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome. Now there's someone else that you're working with, someone that I know fairly well, William Pierce. I
Yeah.
don't know if you know this, but like I had the opportunity to work with William way back in the early years of me starting with Maya and being a coach with Maya. I think you guys had talked about that after, getting booked on the show. But
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about working with William.
Oh, William is also one of the very first people that reached out after my separation from Century, and he was like, "Girl, I got you. Let's go." We all know William as, unfiltered, but he tells you how it is. He tells you how it is, and that's one of the things I actually love about him and working for him. Like, he doesn't BS,
Right.
and he's given me the opportunity to, again, I've talked and developed relationships with school owners for so long. I still get to talk to a lot of my favorite people because they get new Member Ninja websites. So I never thought I would know back in website building or how to do code or how to change colors on a website. So, and do billing. Like, he's opened my world up to learning so many new skills, and he makes me feel, like I'm an awesome person and a great employee. Like, he tells me all the time, like, how much he values me. And that's super important as, an employer to, get with your team and let them know, hey, you're valued, you're awesome, you rock.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. I agree. And since you bring that up, I should definitely give a shout out to my team right now. Everybody from the top all the way down, anybody that's working at Moore Park Karate and Krav Maga, you guys are awesome. And as a matter of fact, I would love to have my team come on the show at some point.
That'd be a good one.
Wouldn't that be fun to have the whole team
Yeah.
get on here? But William Pierce, no BS dude, loves to stir the pot a little bit, no filter. I get it. I've worked with him, so I know. William, if you're watching, I'm going to get you booked on this show. So make sure you hit me up. I got a full schedule. I'll remind everybody who's coming up soon. But William, if you're watching this, I want you on the show. I'll hit you up.
He spreads the knowledge and, tries to help school owners just like, I do. He's given people information about summer camps and, how to run programs. He just dropped games and now he's doing t-shirts and stuff for parkour. So he's a jack of all trades now. Got every little bit of everything going.
Good for him. That's amazing. Well, I'm happy to hear that you're happy working with the companies that you are. You have a kind of deep roots, 13 years of working in the martial arts industry, and whether you're with one company or another, you kind of start to deal with a lot of the movers and shakers in the industry, and I think that that's amazing. So keep doing what you're doing there. But let's talk about some personal goals. I know. We talked, you were just taking a yoga class before we jumped on. I was just at the gym, right? Like, yoga's your thing. So tell me a little bit more about your personal goals and some of the activities that you enjoy outside of the martial arts industry.
Outside of martial arts, I am a huge nerd. So I watch a lot of movies, a lot of anime. I read a lot. Definitely yoga. I'm on my 27th class since I started. We have like a little ticker countdown to track how many classes that you've done. I'd love to get certified, but I want my practice to be a little bit stronger before I try to teach other people how to do it. So I'm trying to hit 100 classes in my first 6 months. I'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's been a huge passion. Of course, gardening is my thing. I'm looking outside at my plants right now. I need to go water. We got a storm that came through, but it's hot in Oklahoma. It's already back up into the 95. So yeah, it'll be garden time after we get off here. And I'm looking at getting a holistic, basically it's kind of like holistic medicine with herbs and all of that. I'm looking at getting certified in that. So it's like a holistic healing. And I just bought my first sound bowl for sound activation workshops and healing there as well. So I'm very, very spiritual and vibey, so it fits me.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, like you said earlier, find your tribe and find what works for you. And get that energy flowing in that direction. I've heard, where the energy flows. How does that finish? Something. I don't know. See, I always mess up quotes. That's my thing. I mess up quotes. I try to quote something and I forget it. Well, anyway,
Keep your chakras balanced. I know that.
There you go.
Got to balance it out.
So, one last thing I want to chat about before we go, which I think is super important in any industry, in any area of your life, is having a mentor, finding a mentor, looking for a mentor. And as we were talking, kind of pre-show, you're in that process of finding the mentor. Now, I'm sure you've had mentors in, when you worked at Century, and Melody Johnson being a mentor working at Skills, and your parents, of course, are mentors.
That's
right? So what is it exactly that you're looking for?
Really just someone more to build onto my tribe. Someone that I can bounce ideas off of, and that's going to help me grow as a person, and not only, professionally, but spiritually, mentally, physically as well. Kind of wrapping a person all up in one. Someone with a positive growth mindset that we're on the train to keep moving, not stay stagnant.
Right. What I found in my experience is that, number one, once I start looking and I find someone, that someone kind of leads me to another someone or a group of someone's, right? And so I've been very fortunate in many areas of my life to find the right mentor for that time and for that moment. For my business, Mike Metzger, Frank Silverman have always been huge mentors to me in that arena. But then, I have a really good friend who I met through professional wrestling, of all things, who became kind of who I consider, we happen to go to the same church, and he's a youth minister, and he's someone that, Danny Cleary, who I do my Tuesday Thoughts occasionally, someone that when it comes to my faith and it comes to, religion and understanding that part of my life, I really look to him. And then, other areas of your life. I have a really good friend who's a business owner, Daniel Groff, who happens to be one of our councilmen. Just a great life, someone that I can learn from, a little bit older than me, a little bit more experienced than me, done a little bit more. And so it's like, man, I want to not only know this person, I want to get close with him. And fortunately, over the last several years, we've become very good friends as well. So it's like, I think what we're really looking for and what we're searching, it's right there. We just have to kind of grab onto it and take that next step. Yep. And sometimes that next step is a huge leap of faith, because what we're always worried about is we always have that fear of failure. But yep. I've learned to embrace failure as a way to move me forward and allow more failure, because if you're failing in life, you're learning, right? And if you're failing, right? If you're failing something, you're doing something. If you're not failing enough, it's probably because you're too comfortable and you're sitting still. And that is not part of the growth mindset. That's not going to catapult you. And I'll just put this out here on air, and maybe you can search them out and learn a little bit more about this. But the Connected Leaders Academy is an amazing group of professionals from all areas, authors, speakers, poets. I'm thinking just entrepreneurs. Jose Escobar. Do you know Jose?
Yeah.
So Jose Escobar started the Connected Leaders Academy, and this is going crazy. It's going wild. And maybe someone to reach out to, because even if he's not the man, he could be the man that connects you with the man or woman that could be the person that you're looking for. So it's a great group of people. I've had a bunch of the members on here. So I'll be happy to give you referrals to reach out there. But I think it's a great opportunity, because I think everybody in that group is looking for the same thing. We're all looking to get, help us get to the next level. So,
anyway. Melody has been helping. She's been asking me some hard questions about myself, and I'm like, hey, what do I want to be when I grow up?
We have to be willing to answer those hard questions, because it's too easy to ignore the question.
Right.
right? It's easy to ignore the question and I just keep doing what I'm doing because it feels, it feels
It's
easier. It
easy.
feels good, right?
It's easy.
So anyway, well, I hope that last couple minutes here for everybody has maybe made you think a little bit. If anything else, just made you think about what direction you're moving in. And so, Chas, I want to thank you for being on the show, and thanks for sharing your life and your story and your struggles and challenges and all the good stuff in between. It's been amazing to have this time with you today.
For sure. Anytime. I'm honored to be here.
Well, guys, that's it for today. Just a little heads up. I like to kind of give a little update on who is coming up. I got Jennifer Waters this week. I have Greg Silva, Anthony Kleeman, Peggy Caruso, Joey Perry, Samuel Diaz. Man, the list goes on. Douglas Wong, Alex Mancias, Reed Presley, Kelly. I could just keep going. But guys, keep tuning into this Master Motivation podcast. I am having an absolute blast just talking with some amazing people each and every week. And believe it or not, I am pretty booked all the way through 2023, but I will be adding to the schedule and continuing throughout. So if you have some recommendations of someone you'd like to see on the show, or if you're watching and you have a great story, which I think everybody has a great story, and you'd like to be on the show, just reach out to me. Send me a Facebook message. I will respond, and hope to have some more amazing guests. And thank you. Appreciate that, guys. So for now, I'm going to say goodbye and make it a great week. Chas, anything to throw out there before we go?
Never be scared to be yourself, guys. Go with the flow. Love the journey.
Love the journey is what I heard. Love the journey. Remember, life is a journey, right? Don't we say this all the time in martial arts? Black belt is a journey, not a destination. Life is a journey. That's the original quote. So good stuff, Chas. Hang out for a minute. I'll be right back. But otherwise, guys, make it a great week, and we'll see you real soon.